Hey guys, it's about 96 degrees out here, but I'm going to show you today a video. We just finished this pool up. I'm going to give you a quick tour around it real fast. It's just a 20 by 40 vinyl liner, about 21,000 gallons. It's 3.5 feet deep throughout. It's just a flat sport pool. Thermoplastic stairs. You got a little basketball goal and a volleyball net set up. A couple cool pergolas. Chairs all the way around. But today's video is basically going to just be a shot of how we go from this to this. I'm going to show you kind of as many details of the liner drop as I can. So that's going to be the gist of that. And I'm also going to kind of get into the details. We've got an Easy Touch 8 right here, which is just the electrical power panel. It's got your breakers and all of your relays and stuff up here. It kind of automates your pool. When you got it, it also runs the salt chlorine generator. So we got an IC40 TR60 sand filter with ruby sand, a Superflow VST by Pentair, and the ball valves going from Skimmer 1 main drains and the other Skimmer 2. So real simple plumbing, nothing fancy on this one. Some of our big monopores are quite a bit crazier, but this is the kind of standard fare for the vinyl liners we do, and it's a really good package. So gonna get into it right now, show you the vinyl liner drop, and catch you next time. Hey guys, I'm at one of our vinyl liners that just came in. I'm gonna show you kind of everything. Liner came in yesterday, finally. It was today is the 17th. We finished this pool up about a week before the 4th, and the liner had been ordered, and liners are normally out about 10 days. And so we were waiting and waiting, and it finally came in yesterday. So we've got all of our supplies to drop that liner first of the week. As you can see, the people are definitely ready since they've got their lawn chairs out by a nasty concrete hole. But I'm gonna bring you detailed video this week about dropping this liner. Everybody was asking me on that last video, I'll link the vinyl liner video right there, about how the stairs work when the thermoplastic outside the liner, I'm just gonna get into detail about every penetration that gets tapped, how to drop the liner, how to put the foam in. I'm gonna give you one detailed video about how that works. So okay, so me and the guys are just prepping, and the name of the game is just clean, clean, clean. One of my guys is working on just making sure there's no debris in the liner track. Everybody else is working on the floor, just making sure that there's not even a grain of sand on that floor when they're done. Because even the littlest pebbles will bug you under a vinyl liner. They'll kind of poke your foot. They can puncture the liner. The liner foam we put down helps with that. Little bitty sand won't hurt anything, but we really try to just not have anything. But as you can see, they're also starting to put the styrene on the sides. We do that with liquid nails spray foam in the Pro Gun and tape, and that's what holds it on the wall during install. And then obviously the friction and the weight of the water holds it in place the rest of the time. Now they're putting the liner foam down. We're using 1/4 inch liner foam, and we are using spray adhesive. I'll link the type of adhesive we use in the description, because it really works well on concrete to foam. Okay guys, so the first thing we've got to do after, like I said, we're getting the liner, they're finishing the liner foam up. I'll get into the styrene that we put on the walls here in a second, but the very first thing we do to get ready for the liner is putting one of our gaskets. Each main drain comes with 2, and they will sandwich the vinyl liner, so one of them has to be under the vinyl liner. And so you got to anchor that down until the water's full enough to cut the hole. So what we're going to do, the guy who taught me how to do it always had me using flexible sealer, which is actually a leak preventative or a leak stop. You're probably going to tell me if you do these things it's not necessary, and you're probably right. But we do it on the mains because if there's ever a problem with the main, it's all the way at the bottom of the pool. It's a total pain to deal with. So it's kind of an extra step, I think, but we just do it. We don't do it to the skimmers because they're right there and they're accessible. But we use this Leak Masters flexible sealer. It's really cool stuff. It works wonders. And then I'm going to place this down in that sealer. And I've got this screw kit for each main drain, which there's a trim ring that goes over the top of the liner before we cut it out. And I'm just going to start 2 screws. And those are going to be under the liner, and I'm going to pop them through the liner once we are ready to tap the liner, which, like I said, I'll get into that detail in a minute. But I just put 2 screws on opposite ends of this, this seal. And I'll bring you in on the other one nice and close so you can see the whole thing work. But that's going to hold it. It can't move. When we drag the heavy liner across the floor, it won't. These screws are pretty blunt. They're not going to catch or do anything. And this liner can't, or this gasket can't move. So we're going to do it to both of those and both skimmers. The returns already have their rubber gasket kind of permanently affixed to the deal, so they're ready to go. But I'll take you over here real quick and cut that one out. Okay, despite Jeff's finger being in the way of the camera a little bit, I'm just wanting to get a close-up of the way I do the flexible sealer. I try to stay to the outside of the screws, so when the seal is pulled down tight, it's sealing kind of up through the holes, but it's not squeezing out into the main drain where it's visible through the holes of the lids. So that's kind of my thought process on that. Again, we're putting 1 screw on one side, 1 screw on the other, and that's just to hold that gasket in place while we're dragging a fairly heavy liner around in the bottom of the pool. We wouldn't want that to pull off of the main drain and be somewhere else under the liner when we go to complete that step. Okay guys, so just want to this is the one thing on an ICF pool is we always have to address the walls, whether it's a plaster pool and an eco finish where we have to make it fireproof so we can apply that finish, or on a simple vinyl liner, you can just put the vinyl liner in immediately, directly, and it's actually pretty good on the liner because that nice soft expanded polystyrene will not wear on the liner. Problem is every time a kid kicks it, or you'll dent it, and that dent will show up when the pool is lit at night, very pronounced. So what we do is we get this expanded, or not expanded polystyrene, just styrene sheet from our local plastic distributor. Regal Plastics sells us this. It's 030 gauge. It's like $8 a sheet or something. It's really inexpensive. So a couple $100 and we can skin the whole wall. And then it just gives it a rigid, and it's still very smooth, doesn't hurt the liner. Just an extra step, but it makes the liner look more beautiful at night. It's something we do. And so just when you see us doing that, that's why we do it. It's not a necessary step. If you're really on an absolute, budget's everything, then you don't need to do this. But you'll just see the dents from, kids bumping the walls kind of hard with their toes and stuff. That'll show up over time. So that's why we do that step. All right, guys, the skimmers are kind of the same animal. Each skimmer comes with 2 gaskets. We're going to put one on before, and we're actually going to tape this. Instead of using the screws, we'll tape around it, because when I take the screws out, it'll fall. So I'm going to do that. I'll tape it on, and I'm not going to use the flexible sealer because there's only like 3 or 4 inches of water up on there. There's no water pressure. These are very easy to seal up. The mains are too, but it's like I said, it's a step that I was always taught to do. No idea if there's any point in it. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys taping this on real quick, and then we'll do it to the other one. And we're just about ready to drop this liner. So here we go. Okay guys, so this is a pretty simple step. We obviously are just going to tape this on. The reason we do that is because if we tried the screw method that we use on the main drains, when we pop those screws out, that seal would fall behind the liner down to the water line, and it would be a total pain to get it out from behind the liner. So we tape it, but if you notice, I'm leaving the tape outside of the gasket holes. And I do that because I want gasket to make contact with plastic, with the vinyl liner, and then the vinyl liner to make contact with the next gasket and the seal, and I don't really want the tape in the way of that. So I'm keeping it to the outside edge of the gasket so the gasket can still do its job. Okay guys, so the last thing I have to do before I get ready for the liner, the seals are already off, but these seals here, is kind of an extruded plastic deal, and they go on this rubber seal, which is permanently glued onto the thermoplastic stair. And this one goes here. This one here we haven't removed yet. So it basically makes a U all the way around the stairs. So we've got a piece of plywood where you just hang the liner across here until the water is a few inches up on the wall to hold it in place. And then we will, what we call tapping, where we drill the holes, or we poke holes and put the screws in over the seal and compress the liner between that rubber and this ribbed extruded plastic. and then we cut the vinyl out. So the stairs become inside the pool. They're outside of the pool right now. They become part of the pool. And that is kind of the last step before we drop the liner here in just a minute. So kind of just wanted to give you, I didn't really show any of this in the last video. Just wanted to give you the details. So we're getting ready to drop the liner right now. Okay, so now we are dropping the liner. We just get it all unfolded. Funny thing about a liner that's so simple with no breaks and no deep end and a complete rectangle, it was actually pretty hard to figure out which direction it went because it was just about an inch at a square and we had measured it that way. So we ended up having to turn it around after getting it hung. Okay guys, we're just hanging the last little bit of liner. I just kind of wanted to show you. So the top edge of the liner has what's called a bead, and it's like a little ribbed thing that's just really a friction hold. I'm gonna give you a close-up of what the profile looks like, and I'll show you what it does. That liner track right here has a little lip on it, so when this goes in, it hooks like that, and then you can pull as hard as you want and it can't come out because it would have to tip up, and it can't do that because there's not room for it to. So believe it or not, all that weight and hundreds of thousands of pounds of water is all held by that vinyl bead right there. But once the water's in, it holds great. They do have a liner lock that kind of snaps in on top of it that makes it hold better, but you don't even need it. It'll just, it just kind of bends in like that and it holds. So we're almost done hanging the liner. I'll show you kind of how we do the stairs over here to complete it, to start filling the water up, and put a vacuum on it and turn the water on. Okay, so this is just kind of a close-up of zipping the liner bead into the track. And you can see it's simple enough. We can do it with one hand while I'm holding a camera. I've got a guy to my left kind of holding it up to make it easier on me. By the end of the day, your thumbs and your fingers do get pretty tired, but it is not a difficult process, just tedious and repetitive. That's kind of the truth of all of liner dropping, everything about it, whether it's screwing the seals on and everything else. So you can see right here we're kind of finishing it, and the reason we had to flip it around is because even just measuring it that little bit at a square, we couldn't get the wrinkles out the first way, and we knew that because it was made just a little at a square, if we flipped it, we could do it. And it worked out. It just took a lot of extra effort that normally with a pool with a deep end or any kind of stairs or anything that delineates one end from the other, but they didn't put any markings on it. And so yeah, it was a little extra work, but we got all the wrinkles. It fit absolutely perfectly. You can see we're starting to add the water, and as soon as the water gets deep enough, which with a flat pool like that takes a while, I'm able to tap the main drains and then let it go pretty much for the rest of the day. Then I'll have to tap the stairs, and I can finish tapping everything on the walls. Normally with the deep end, it's kind of more of a step-by-step process. Okay guys, we've got a couple inches of water. It's plenty. The vacuum's still holding everything tight. So the first thing we're going to do before the water gets too deep is we're going to tap the main drains. I've got an awl in my hands. You want to be very careful carrying anything sharp or doing anything. Once there's water in the liner, they're pretty durable, but right now you can bump in, you can have something sharp in your pockets, and you can tear up a liner. So I've got all the stuff I need right here, and what we're going to start doing is I'm going to lay this all down on its side real gentle, and I'm going to pinpoint those two screws you remember that were in the first one's right here, and you can come on in, get close, and I'll pop that out. See it coming right through the liner. So I now have a hole in the liner, which, isn't ideal, except I'm going to cover it right back up with so you got to be careful. You see what that's doing where it tried to roll the liner? I'm going to poke it through the liner and back it out. Okay, so now I'm going to put the gasket and line it up with those two holes. You want to be careful. You don't want to over torque it. The guy who taught me how to build pools back in the day made me hand tighten everything. I'm decent with an impact, so I cheat and I get away with it most of the time. But I'm going to give you one thing. I'm going to dump those out into the bottom of the drain real quick. and I'm going to be a couple short. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that awl and I'm going to puncture the liner at each place. And what that's doing, you saw when I was backing that one out how it tried to ball up the liner. If it's punctured, the threads can get down through the liner and not try to twist up the liner. But you do want to watch it as you're going so that you don't end up, you actually see a couple little bubbles squirt out of the gasket. That one had some concrete in it. That's not ideal. Okay, I think it's down, but I'll check it in a second. Okay. And I'm going back and forth just like I'm tightening lug nuts on a tire. Okay. And I used all 4 out of the same bag, so I'll have to dip into my other drain to get the last 2. So now these 2 here are actually the screws for the lid. But first, I'm going to take my knife, keep the blade retracted until you're ready to use it. You just never know. And I'm going to slice around the inside of the gasket. And now that drain, see the air coming out, that drain is becoming part of the inside of the pool. And you want to keep these because they will make good patches down the road. They match the liner perfectly, so. Oh hell, I got a number 3. These are number 2s, so I'll go get a hand screwdriver real quick. Okay, so the last step is obviously just to put those main drain lids on. They're just a couple of machine thread stainless steel screws. It's super easy and they are good to go. There's usually 2 main drains, so we do the one next to it and move on to the walls. Okay guys, the water's up deep enough now because this thing has no deep end. Usually we wait till the water's about this deep in the shallow to tap the stairs and any other penetrations in the walls because it's pinned to the walls good enough that it's not going to move around. So I'm going to show you guys now how to do the stairs. And the first thing we're going to do is put the sides, the extruded plastic sides. And so I've already trimmed this one so I could tuck it in. The seal, the rubber seal is right back there as you remember from earlier. You see it right there? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the awl, and I've got some screws right here, and I'm going to find the top hole. I can also just take a peek since I've got the liner cut already. But the top hole is right there. Okay, and yeah, so the top hole's right there. I'm gonna poke a hole with the awl so I can spot it right there. Okay, and this actually shows you this is the right and that's up, the right vertical and it's up. It says RV with an arrow pointing upward. So oh, of course I jumped the gun. Let's get that tip out. For whatever reason, everything on the pool is like a number 2 or number 3 Phillips, except these stairs are T25 Torx drive. All right, so I'm gonna feel it out, get it right there where it's centered on the, I'm gonna go ahead and poke them. Just like I said, so that's all I'm doing here. This is not a step you have to do, but if you're not careful, the sun has been shining, this liner is real gummy, and if you're not careful, it'll wrap up around the the screw if you don't give it a hole to penetrate, because they're real blunt end screws. They don't have a tip on them. So I'm just gonna zing these on real quick. And I'm gonna repeat for over there and here. So I'll just kind of fast forward through this because it'll take me probably 20 minutes. This is kind of a drawn out process. And then they have a little seal that snaps over the screws so you don't see them, to give it a nice finished look. And when we get that done, I'll slow it back down. I will trim that out. I'll take the piece of plywood off that's there for the vacuum, and we'll go from there. So I think this clip was about 20 minutes long before I started cutting it and fast forwarding sections. But a lot of people had reached out and wanted to know how these stairs work and how you attach them to the liner, so I wanted to include it in great detail. But a thermoplastic stair, the real benefit is they're inexpensive and they're very, very durable. And you know, liner covered stairs can be more beautiful and more architecturally flexible, but these stairs are really, really good and durable. Okay guys, so now is all I have to do is take this knife and just very gently slide it along the edge of the seal on the inside of the stairs, not the outside, unless you want to buy a new liner. All right, now I'm going to come across the bottom, same way. When you're doing this, you gotta be careful. There's a rubber seal. You can trim it just a little bit. It doesn't hurt anything because it's on the stair side. But I had a service call the other day. One of the guys saw a little, rubber band basically dangling in his pool, and he thought that there was something wrong, and it was just a little piece of that rubber seal that I sliced with a knife. It wasn't hurting anything, but it alarmed him, and so it alarmed me because he said there was a piece of seal hanging in his stairs, and I thought that could be really bad. So just try to watch for that. Let's see if I can come on across so I'm not fighting that. Okay. Okay, I'll toss this over here for now and round up a few of the supplies that we didn't use. Had a few screws left over, and my Phillips tip. All right, now we got a way in and out of the pool. All right guys, so I just feel for it. The nub is I always point the nub up, so it's generally pretty easy to find. So you don't have to, those fittings go any which way. I'm gonna poke them. Okay. Oops. That's why those screws are blunted. They're stainless steel screws and they have no tip. They're just kind of made for this specific task. Okay, I'm going to trim this out. Okay. Now we just finish these right now while we're here. We don't come back. The lights are a little more work. So, pull out our eyeball, screw that on like so. Try to point them all kind of the same direction. Like that. Okay guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the skimmer. You just kind of feel around here. And again, I'm going to use the awl to delineate one corner. I can feel the hole right there, maybe. There she is. Okay, right there. And as you remember, we had one of these gaskets on the inside of the liner that we taped on, so it's going to sandwich the liner between these two gaskets. And I'm going to stick that screw, line it up with that hole, and then I'm just going to go ahead and snug that one up. Okay, then I'm going to do the corners. Like everything with a vinyl liner, there's just screws every couple of inches, so it's very tedious and repetitive, but there's nothing hard about it. It's just kind of tedious. Okay, same thing as all the other stuff, just trying to make a nice pretty cut where I don't see any of the liner on the inside. It's a little bit harder on this one because there's actually air behind it, so I kind of try to pull it tight on the top edge, and just, I kind of messed up. I left a little bit right there, but all in all, pretty good. Okay, so that's skimmer one. I got another skimmer, several more returns. Then I'm gonna work on seeing about getting those lights done tonight if I can. Okay guys, this is the very last thing I've got to do tonight, and I kind of messed up. I didn't get the fishing of the wire on film because my phone died. It's been really hot today, and it just kind of sucked the battery down. So it kind of crashed. But anyway, these are the micro bright LEDs I was telling you about. And the thing I love about them, other than that they can really go anywhere, they don't have that big niche, is that niche is called a wet niche, and the water fills up the conduit. And this can be done that way. It's okay, the conduit, as long as it's above ground. But you know, a lot of my equipment rooms are under the pool deck. And then you have to have a loop that goes up and above the ground, or else the water will leak. So, we don't want that. This has actually got a dry seal kit. So I'm just gonna kind of show you how that works. Pretty simple. It's got an O-ring here. I can pull it off without hurting it. And then it's got the lube that I can screw it in without hurting the O-ring. But this O-ring just goes over this black part. The threaded part goes into the regular return wall fitting, just like your returns. And I'll show you how to kind of like preload the wire to where it doesn't ball up and get knotted. But anyway, I just have to, this thing's pretty tight. But once I get it on, then I just use some of this sealant. This package is different than the last one, so let me see if I got a knife. I go around that O-ring to make sure that I don't have any catching or, you know, heating up of the O-ring that would mess it up with the friction with the PVC. So now is all it wants me to do. I'm going to twist it in there 8 or 9 times. So I'm going to twist it backward. So I'm basically twisting the wire. There's a 100-foot long wire, and I put a shop vac on here, and I sucked a fishing string, not a fishing line, but you know, like an electrical fishing string, like from Klein, through the pipe, tied it onto the wire, and pulled it back through. 1-inch conduit. This is very flexible, like I think it's 14 gauge wire, but it's not solid wire, so it's actually real easy to fish. So I'm going to push that back in there, and then it comes with this little adapter tool. I got to get it lined up straight, which is kind of a trick. And now I got my fingers in that stuff, so I loaded it like one too many times here. Let's see if I'm making a mess right before I get to go home. There she went. Okay. Okay, so that pretty little thing, just that little light right there. And like I said, this pool just has 2 of them. It's a pretty simple pool. I've got few pools with 8 and 10 of these things. I'm going to put a link in the description to everything I showed you, every return wall. Because like I said, these pools are totally DIY-able. If you have the interest to do one of these yourself, you can. I'll put links to all the return fittings, the skimmers, the steps, all of it from online suppliers. These micro brights are 350 bucks a piece. I mean, they're not cheap lights, but to compare it, the big lights, the IntelliBright 5Gs and stuff are about 900 now. So you can do, 2.5, 3 of these for one of those. And so, a lot of people are opting for like 4 in place of 1, and it's more, but not a lot more, 1,300 bucks, 1,400 bucks instead of 1,000. And you get a lot more even light distribution. So love these things, love that they are sealed. That's killer. But like I said, we've got a bunch of cool pools finishing up right now. So going to start bringing you a lot of finished product. But this is that. I'm going to show you guys the end result here at the end of the video, and see you next time.